Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Kate if you're new here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite books of 2020. So I got this list by going into my Goodreads and my Storygraph accounts and just making a list of all the books I rated 5 stars. So there were 12, so I figured I might as well just talk about all of them, because at first I kind of just wanted to pick like 10 or so, but just because there was only like 2 more than 10, I was like I might as well just talk about all of them. And I don't have all of them here with me today because some of them I either borrowed from friends or they were audiobooks. So hopefully those I'll end up like putting a picture up, even though they're usually, I think most of these books people have like heard about and they're pretty popular. So you probably already know what they look like, but it's fine. So yeah, let's get started. The first book I'm going to talk about, oh, I just spilled my coffee on me. Oh my gosh, that is so gross. Okay. Let's start again. So the first book I'm going to talk about today is called All of Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. I did not expect to like this, and that's why it sat on my TBR shelf for probably like 2 years now. I think I got it when I first started watching BookTube or something like that, and it was in an attempt to read more like romance stories, but I try and tell myself I'm not much of a romance girl, even though I feel like most of these books have some aspect of romance that I really liked. But yeah, so I didn't expect to like this one very much, but I did. I cried so hard, I think at a few different points. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it. So it's basically these 2 separate couples are living their lives, you know, and this one couple is about to get married. And she's like on a trip or something. She gets home, goes over to her boyfriend's apartment. There's a girl in there, and that girl belongs to the other couple that I just mentioned. And before she goes in and sees the other girl, there's some guy standing out in the hallway, and it's the guy from that couple. So basically they like switched who they were dating, except for you're not really involved much with the people that were cheating on these 2, but whatever, they end up like getting together and like staying together. But like a big part of the story is that the girl has a lot of trouble getting pregnant and kind of like how it affects their marriage and their relationship, and parts of it just like were so sad, but like other parts were so, I don't want to say happy, but like I feel like it really, like I like to see how these characters grew apart and how they grew back together. I just thought it was like, I don't know, I just really liked it so much. So yeah, there's this one. The second one I'm going to talk about today is, I feel like, everybody's favorite book ever. And it's The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Jenkins Reid. I feel like such a noob for waiting to read this until this year. I really want to say that I read it with a book club. Was it the Late Night Book Club? I think who read this. I think this was like their first book, like over the summer or like early fall or something, maybe like September or something like that. And I honestly just didn't read it at first because I've heard a million people talk about it, and I was like, I feel like I know everybody, all the characters in the story, like all the plot points. I feel like I knew everything about it because I've heard so many people talk about it. And I loved it anyway. It was so good. I think I finished it in like 2 or 3 days. Like I loved it so much. Just so much. Like so much. The characters were just so fun, and like there were just so many parts of the story that I like wasn't really expecting too much, even though I heard so many people talk about the book, and it was just like so good. I don't want to say it was fun, but like it was, I liked reading about really strong female characters. And so, yeah, I just really like this and really recommend it, even though, again, I feel like everybody's read this but me. So, there you go. This next book I'm going to talk about is called Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson, A Story of Justice and Redemption. So, Bryan Stevenson is a lawyer, and this is nonfiction. So he's a lawyer who, I don't know if this is like one of his only, like, so one of his main goals is what I'm trying to say. One of his main goals is to get a lot of the people who are in death row not on it anymore, whether they are innocent or whether that punishment was just way too harsh, you know, like he just works a lot with prisoners. And I think you just really learn a lot more about how ridiculous our justice system is and how just biased our system is and just how like insane and crazy it all is and how unfair to certain groups of people. And a lot of this book made me sad, but some good things happen, you know, where he like helps people. I think if anything, it just like taught me a lot about the prison system that I might not have known before, because he talks about it from someone's point of view who like works, you know, like in and with the prison system and like the law system, but he also, you know, like shares some of his like interviews and his discussions with the prisoners that he works with. And so it was just like really, really interesting, and I feel like I learned a lot. I don't remember if there were any tears shed, but I feel like there was a little bit. Very hard hitting, but very, very, very informative, and I really recommend this book. Okay, so the next book I'm going to talk about today is called The Vanishing Half by Bennett. So, I don't know, a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even longer, I read The Mothers, and when this book came out, I had no clue that it was the same author, because at the time that I read The Mothers, I was working at a bookstore, and one of the booksellers just like recommended it to me, and I was like, okay, you know, like, don't you know, like, you don't know what to read next, and so you just kind of like pick up whatever somebody tells you to, and I really liked it, but I don't think I really rated it on Goodreads, and if I did, I think I probably gave it a 3, because at that time I wasn't really tracking my books, so when I went back to track them, I just kind of felt weird, like, rating some of them really high if I like didn't really remember a whole lot about them. So I kind of want to reread The Mothers, but anyways, The Vanishing Half by Bennett. I love her covers. Her covers are some of the most interesting and like beautiful covers I've ever seen. Like, oh my god, that's beautiful. But anyways, so this book is about 2 sisters living in the South who are white passing, but obviously because it's a small like southern town, you know, everybody knows their family and everybody knows that they're like not white, so there's that. And so they're twins, I believe. I think they're twins. I think they are twins. And the one sister stays in the town, you know. I don't remember. I think she gets married. I don't know. She like has a daughter and whatever, and like stays in the town and like lives life. The other sister moves away and tricks everybody she meets into thinking that she is a white woman. And her husband doesn't even know like her family and doesn't know like where she's from or any of that. She lies to like everybody she meets about who her family is, where she's from, what she does, like big old liar. But like it's just really interesting, because then at some point along the way, this woman, the one who lies about like her past and whatever, they move into this really rich neighborhood, but it's predominantly white people. One of their new neighbors is black, and they become friends, and I think that one neighbor lady is like one of the only people that ends up learning this girl's secret. And so during this time where like the sisters are separated, you know, they don't speak, they're not friendly, they don't talk, they have no idea. Like that one sister basically like ran off and gave no like contact info to anyone. But at some point they kind of like reconnect a little bit, and it's just kind of like about their story, and it was really interesting and really different from like anything I've really ever read before, and I loved it. It was so, so, so good. The next book I have to talk about is Little Fires Everywhere. So I feel like everybody and their mom has read this book or seen the show. I haven't seen the show yet. I still think I'm gonna watch it. I just like haven't yet. But I don't really know what to say about this because I feel like everybody's read this, but I'm gonna describe it as being sort of like a family drama. So there's like kind of like a richer family who, whatever, really rich, big house, whatever, with like, I think like 3 kids. And I want to say like the parents are a little bit more neurotic about like what things look like, how are they perceived like by the community and like all that kind of stuff. And then this other little family, this mom and this daughter, move into a house that this big family owns. You know, like they rent out this little house. And that mom is an artist, and she ends up cleaning the richer family's home. And she does art and she cleans, and then her daughter becomes like best friends with one of the rich daughters, and then she gets kind of like a little bit more involved with one of the other kids. And then the youngest daughter in the rich family works with the mom, who's the artist, because she's like really into art, and like she makes her feel like a little more like welcomed, because like the youngest daughter in the rich family is kind of like the black sheep of the family in a way. So it's just kind of like about their relationships, and yeah, like a big dramatic story, and I loved every minute of it. Again, I think I want to watch a show, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. So this next one I'm going to talk about, I loved, and it scared me so bad. Like scared me so freaking bad. I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. Dude, I still wake up in the middle of the night and think about it. Like, it scares me so freaking bad. So this is a nonfiction true crime. Again, I feel like so many people either have read this or heard about it, especially if you are into true crime, like in any way. So it's about the Golden State Killer. And so he started out as being, I think his name was like the East Area Rapist. So he was just like going around to all these people's homes in like California, I believe, you know, raping a bunch of people. And they couldn't figure out who it was. Next thing you know, people end up dying. So he ends up like murdering a bunch of people also. They couldn't figure out who he was, couldn't figure it out. And this woman, Michelle, became obsessed with this case. And I think like before she even like became obsessed with this case, like she was already like into true crime, and like she like started a blog, and like she's like, yeah, really into it. But this was like her case. Like she became obsessed with it and did a bunch of her own research and wrote this book and all that. And so yeah, the book's just kind of like about the case, whatever. But then like right around, so she like passes away, and this book was like almost done. And so some of her like friends and family and like coworkers like wrapped it up for her, like finished it for her. The book comes out, and then like pretty soon after, they find the guy because of DNA and like one of those, it's not ancestry.com, but like one of those websites, and they found like a long lost relative, and you know, they figured out like who it was, and he's now been arrested. And I don't know, the whole case just like I became obsessed with. Like, it scared me so freaking bad. I feel like I listened to so many podcasts about it. I read this book. Like, I became obsessed. And it's just so scary. Like, I wake up in the middle of the night and, like, I get so scared because this guy used to, like, break into people's homes and just be, like, hanging out. Just, like, watch them sleep. Just, like, he was definitely more of, like, a mind, like, controller. Like, he just wanted to, like, fuck with you so bad. Like, it was more, I feel like for him, more about feeling in control, like in that way, than the actual like act of like whatever he was gonna do to you. And it scares me so much. Even when I wake up in the middle of the night still, and if I start thinking about it, it like freaks me out so bad. But it was so freaking good, like so good. But again, if you're like scared or you like live alone or that stuff like really, really gets to you, like I wouldn't read it just because of, like I feel like I watch true crime shows and listen to podcasts and like read books, and that still really wigged me out. And so just like if you're actually like sensitive stuff like that, I wouldn't recommend it, but I loved it. Okay, so the next book I'm going to talk about is Ask Again Yes by Mary Beth Keane. I loved it so much. I'm gonna call this another like family drama sort of like romance, but like not really a romance, but like a contemporary like family drama-ish type. And so it's basically about these two families who are neighbors. The two children, you know, are best friends growing up, but the adults don't really like get along too well. And you know, the kids decide when they're in like middle school that they really like each other, have crushes on each other. You know, they've been best friends their whole lives. Like, now they like each other a little bit more. As like the next day, like they decide this, the next day, the boy's mom, I think his name's Peter, his mom, deals a lot with, I think it's like schizophrenia and bipolar, I think is exactly like what's going on. But she ends up like, she's on and off her meds a lot, whatever. And his dad is a policeman, so there are guns in the house. This lady ends up having like a moment and shoots the neighbor, like the guy, the dad of the little girl. shoots him. He ends up like being okay and whatever, but because Peter, and I want to say her name's like Kate or Katie or something like that, but because they really like each other like that, they like grow apart and come back together and grow apart and come back together, but because they end up together, their families are still like very much involved, even though like nobody's okay with it, because I mean, could you imagine like this little woman literally, like, obviously she's like dealing with a lot and she ended up like getting help and stuff, but like I feel like just what a strange relationship, because I feel like usually if something like that would happen, like you probably would never see that person ever again. And so it's just like a really like different dynamic of anything I've ever read before, and I thought it was so interesting and I loved it so much. I highly recommend. Okay, so this next book I'm going to talk about is a book that I love so much, and I feel like you either loved it or you hated it. You either loved it and read it so fast, or you thought it was so boring and didn't get the point. But it's called Normal People by Sally Rooney. Do I want to call this a romance? I'm not sure. I kind of do. Sort of like a contemporary literary fiction type with a romance in it. Small, like, I don't really know what I want to call this. I loved every minute of it. And it's just these two young people who, you know, find their way together in life, and then they go to college and break up, and then they come back together, and then they're apart, and then they're together, and then they're apart. And that's basically the whole story. Like, I don't really know how much of a point there is to it, but it's just, again, about these two people's relationships with each other, and I just loved it so much. Like, so much. I loved the writing. I really want to read Conversations with Friends. I just haven't yet. I don't know why, but it's her other book. And yeah, I love this so much. Again, if you get bored by like little dramas or like just like very character-based books, I wouldn't recommend this. But if you love a good character-based novel, like less plot heavy, more like just like character relationships and stuff, like I highly recommend this because I loved it so much. Okay, so this is a book that I rated 5 stars that now looking back I'm kind of like, that's interesting. I didn't realize I did that. Not mad about it. It kind of like, you know, like I kind of forget a lot that happened. But it's a memoir, so nonfiction. It's called Don't Let Me Down by Erin Hosier. Dude, the cover, beautiful. I think it's so freaking cute, and I love it so much. Like, you can't even tell me that's not just like so cute. Like the colors, just the design of it all, it's beautiful. Love it so much. And so basically this girl Erin, oh, I just hit myself with that. Oh my god. Okay. Anyways, so this girl Erin, basically just talks about her relationship with her parents, but mainly her dad, because I think her dad was a little bit, in his own little world most of the time. I'm pretty sure was like an artist, but at the same time like wasn't, and he just had a lot of stuff going on, and she loved him so much, but at times in her life she felt like he wasn't always like around or wasn't always like the best dad. And so yeah, just basically about a daughter and her father and their relationship. And for whatever reason, yeah, like I really liked it when I read it. But like I said, right now not a lot of it is like coming back to me. All I know is that like their family is really into the Beatles, so they make a lot of Beatles references in here. But I really liked it at the time, so yeah. Oh, I just spilled my coffee even more. Oh my god, everyone, abort mission. This is horrible. I'm gonna go set this down because this is not funny. That's really bad. I just spilled it all over my sweatpants, and they're not even my sweatpants. They're not even mine, so I'm a loser. It's fine, I'll wash them. Yeah, wow, I'm a wiener. Okay. Oh, and it's on my sweatshirt. Okay, let's finish the video now that we're here. Okay, so the next book I have to talk about is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So, ew, there's like stuff on it. This video is honestly ridiculous, but whatever. So, urban fantasy, The only reason I got it was because they offered it in Book of the Month when I was still a subscriber. I don't know what I want to, when I was a member of Book of the Month. And I kind of got it because I don't think I would have picked it up otherwise. But I feel like last year I was kind of on like a kick of like, I kind of want to like branch out and read things I might not normally read, just to see if I like it. Like, I'm not going to force myself to read so many fantasies a month or anything like that, just because fantasy isn't usually like something I'm like super into, but I also don't want to like write off a whole genre when I have barely read any in it. And I'm so happy I decided to read this because I loved it. I thought it was so fun. It's kind of like a ghost story, dark academia, like just magical little story. So it's all set at like Yale. This girl can like see ghosts, and she's like needed by like these secret societies because she can't see the ghosts, and it's just like a whole thing. And her friend ends up like disappearing, and she has to like get him back somehow. I don't know, I'm just like so excited for the next one to come out, like so excited. I know I didn't explain that very well. I'm pretty sure I read it last January, so it's been a minute, but I cannot wait for the next one. I don't know when it's supposed to come out, but I hope it's soon because I loved this so much. And I just think it's so funny that I did, just because there was definitely a point in my life, like I would say in college and even like in high school, I was like, fantasy, like too cool, like that's kind of weird, like not into all the magic and the dragons and the this and the that. And I feel like such a loser for thinking that at all. Sorry, my camera turned off. But I just feel like such a loser for writing off a whole genre after reading like nothing in the genre. Like, just what a loser. But anyways, I love this so much and I highly recommend. Second to last book we have to talk about is Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered by Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark. I don't want to tell you to only read this if you listen to their podcast, but kind of. Like, if you don't listen to My Favorite Murder, the podcast, the big, huge, true crime comedy podcast, I don't think you would like this. But I loved it. I tapped it all up. I love Georgia. I love Karen so much. I've been listening to them a little bit less just because of, like, I don't know, some of their episodes, like, during the pandemic weren't my favorite. Like, the whole quilting episodes and stuff like that, not my thing. But I love them so much, and I definitely teared up during this book. Like, I loved it so much, and I love their podcast. I just think recently, like, I need a break from it a little bit. But yeah, if you listen to their podcast, definitely read this. If you don't listen to the podcast, but you like true crime, you should listen to this podcast. It's basically just like now they're best friends. They didn't start out as best friends, but it's just like two best friends, like, talking about true crime and therapy and their lives and just like laughing and crying together, and I love it so much. So yeah. So the last book I'm going to talk about today is one that I don't have here because I listened to the audiobook, and it's Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance. So I know there is like some controversy about this book, and I feel very ignorant that I haven't done a whole lot of research on why people are upset about this book. But I think it has something to do with, like, the people who live there now don't feel like it was a good representation of, like, the cities they live in and the towns they grew up in and stuff. And so a lot of books are coming out now written by other people who are from where he's from, kind of, like, sharing their experience being, like, from this place. And so Again, I'm not sure if that's like the only issues people have with this book. And so I don't want to like speak too much on it. I think it's kind of like cool that people are like coming out with their own stories. But this was also like a memoir, so for you to like tell somebody else that like their feelings aren't correct, or that their opinions aren't valid when they grew up there too. Like, everybody has different experiences, and I think it's important to give people space to express how they feel and express their opinions without saying, hey, you're wrong for thinking that way or feeling that way, when it was your experience. You know, like, this guy isn't really talking too much about facts. I think there are a couple times where he might bring up like statistics or like numbers and that kind of thing, but like he's just sharing like his lived experience. And so for somebody else to tell them that they're wrong or whatever, I think is kind of like odd. But again, I'm not like super informed on like the actual like controversy, so I don't want to like misspeak or anything, but I love the audiobook. Like, so the author actually read the audiobook, like he narrated it, and so that was a huge plus because it just sounds like so much more natural when the author reads their own book. I would say whatever, 9 times out of 10, like that's true, and I loved it so much. I definitely think this book is one that kind of got me more into audiobooks because like before last year I wasn't really into audiobooks too much. But after I read this, I have given a lot more a chance. So I'm really happy for that. I don't know if I said it already, but this book is just kind of like about Appalachia. And the only reason I really picked this up was because my grandparents are from Appalachia. And so I thought it'd be kind of interesting to like read about the area that like they're from and stuff like that. Obviously, like the experiences are a little different because like they're older, you know, like they're in their 70s and they moved here when they were like early 20s, or like my grandma might not even have been 20 yet before she moved to Cincinnati. And so that was a pretty long time ago, and this guy, you know, lived there in like I think like the 80s and 90s is when he grew up and lived there. So obviously like it's not like too similar, but there are definitely like certain aspects that I think are like interesting and that I'd like talk to them about, and like it's just been like a good conversation starter, I guess, between like me and them. And again, like I really liked it, but like I said, there's definitely some like controversy, so take that as you will. But yeah, so those are the 12 books that I rated 5 stars in 2020. I kind of wish I would have rated more 5 stars, like I would have read more, but I definitely read a lot of really good 4-star books, I know. And let's think, I read 40 books last year, and if I rated 12 5 stars, that's not too bad. Yeah, that's like not too bad actually, so kind of happy with it, I guess. Obviously, if I could, I would wish I could read like all 5-star books, but it's just not how life works. So yeah, I hope you all like the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!